It's weird. I was crying so often just a bit ago. I'd wake up with dried tears on my face. Or I'd think I was crying only to find my eyes were dry. But it went away. I'm not crying anymore. Instead, I'm empty, tired. Pressure at school is getting worse. I'm scrambling like a scatterbrain. My one saving grace is my organization. The habits I cultivated through college are making this manageable. Still, I'm always stressed. The only thing that can even get me to feel anymore is James. He can still make me smile. He can still remind me to take a break. He encourages me to break the rules when I need to take a night off with him. He's the only thing keeping me going. A stab of worry about the divorce enters my mind, but I shake my head. I feel so strongly for him. That is how I know this is real. That is how I know this will last. As silly as it sounds, he's my soulmate. He's not going to let anything get in my way. I'm not going to let my bad habits take away the love of my life. Another worry slithers into my head, creeping along the depths like fog, nearly out of view. I've had a suspicion lately. Probably just another insecurity, but still. I'm worried he's losing interest. Why wouldn't he be? I've been stressed and angry. I've had little time to take care of him. I'm a shell of who I used to be. Despite these omnipresent fears, I haven't confided in James. If I do, I'll just make it happen. Who wants to be with someone who doesn't believe they're worth being with?
Sorry to laugh, but...
Yeah, there's irony there for sure. Ooh. I've questioned his love enough already. There's no way he's going to be receptive if I start criticizing him for potentially losing interest in me. It's out of character. One of the reasons he likes me is because I'm confident and strong. I don't want him to think...
It's not like you.
That. I don't want him to think that. Just like the party. James didn't get the raise he was after. I know it's my fault. He hasn't blamed me for it, but I can see it in his face. I should have just listened to him. I should have stayed at the party. I held him back. He keeps saying I need to deal with my issues from the divorce.
I can see it weighing you down.
It is.
The deeper you get into a relationship, the more these intimacy issues will pop out. You're numb because you're distancing yourself from me to protect yourself. Because you're scared.
I'm not trying to, but I am.
I'm not going anywhere. But with the way things are right now, our relationship is in danger.
I know it is. I'm trying.
You need to do something about this. Everything would be fine if you would just figure this out.
I know.
Figure this out.
Yeah. I can do this. I do have issues. I know I do. He's telling the truth. I can get through them. I can. I really can. I need some books. I need workbooks. I need to study. We can't afford a therapist, and if we could, he needs it first. But I'm going to figure this out. And I'm not going to lose this relationship just because something happened to me that was out of my control. I'm not going to let my life be changed like this. Because without James, what do I have left? Ooh, the music was eerie there.
And again, this is why we don't put all of our eggs into one person's basket.
Yeah.
Because the reason I was able to finally do things and get away and do my own thing and not rely on my ex as my emotional crutch as well was when I finally started to make other friends and realize I could find happiness elsewhere. And it's not that I didn't have friends, it's that I wasn't close with them, but I became besties with my bestie because one, because I always loved them anyway from band and stuff, but like having a close relationship, a close friendship where I could confide my feelings into them and where they would be there for me, even if like our interests didn't match up and stuff, because they don't always do. but she's there and she's supportive even when she doesn't understand, you know. And I don't have to feel, and she also understands emotionally my needs and I understand hers, and we can complain to each other about stuff and be excited to each other about stuff, and like being in each other's presence makes us happy, kind of thing. And it's it's like I am with you, like being in your presence just makes me very happy. And it's something that I felt with the ex, but also there was, every time I was with him, it felt comforting, but there was always underlying tension with them that I don't feel with like my other close friends that I have now. And same thing with you know, a couple my two close friends from high school and stuff. Like when I'm with them, it feels like I can just be there and be friends with them, and then there's not this underlying tension like there is with Alsie and James. She loves him, she wants to do everything for him, but she feels this underlying tension that is not a comforting presence to her, and that's a problem. And like that's
she always feels like she's walking on eggshells and
you don't want to feel that with either a close friend or with a relationship, and especially not the only relationship that you have.
Yeah, absolutely. Ugh.
This is wrong.
All right. Wait, this is wrong. It's happening again. My brain, my thoughts, they're all spinning. The ground doesn't even feel solid. Nothing feels real. Again, it's happening again. When was the last time this happened? Think, Alsie. I can't mess this up.
Time to think this over, right?
Oh, sorry.
Jeez, James. You need some time to think this over, right? You feel like you know yourself so well, but then something like this throws you for a loop. It's okay. Take your time.
No, not again. I'm not going to let this happen again. I can't do this. I'm losing my mind. Nothing feels real. I have to get out of here. I have to. As soon as Chelsea opens the door, I burst into tears.
Friendship.
I don't understand what's going on.
Saves the day.
I don't know why I'm feeling this way. I don't know how things ended up like this. I don't know what I did wrong. I'm crying so hard I can't even explain to Chelsea why I showed up at her door in the middle of the night. She doesn't ask questions. She pulls me into a hug. Oh, good friend, good friend. My phone buzzes in my pocket and my heart stops. It's him again. He needs help again, doesn't he? Still sobbing, I pull away from Chelsea and take out my phone. She snatches it out of my hand and puts it in her back pocket. Chelsea, no! I need that, please!
Girl, whatever it is, you can deal with it tomorrow.
No, please. What if he's hurt? What if he's mad?
Oh, we'll see.
She pulls me back into the hug.
It's okay. You're safe here with me. You need to worry about yourself. And I promise everything is going to make sense someday.
I don't know how that's possible.
It is, believe me. But right now, what you need is time, and you need rest.
The finals are next week. My eyes fill with tears again. I can't stop them from coming.
Shh. It's okay now. I've got you.
I can't speak through my sobs, but I think she understands anyways. Aww. Thank you.
Girl, I know.
Safe end? Wait! Safe end? What? Was that it?
Yeah. Look, she's not holding hands!
Oh! Oh, man.
We did it!
I didn't...
I'm crying.
Oh,
this affected me.
I'm glad she's okay. Oh, man.
I'm a little scared what the other endings are, because, admittedly, like, when I watched in a stream, like, I wasn't really paying attention to what was happening. I was just kind of Like, if she was loud about something, I would, like, laugh or something, you know, and comment.
Right.
But, hi, Kara here with a little author's note. Hi, Kara.
Okay. What's up? I wrote this game semi-autobiographically, based on my own experiences of abuse. Because I've primarily experienced emotional abuse from an ex-boyfriend, I depicted a dynamic between a man and a woman. However, abuse can happen to anyone of any age, gender, or sexuality. Often dynamics of gender and sexuality are exploited for abuse. Domestic violence between gay men is often dismissed as two men needing to cool off. Trans and non-binary people experience abuse at alarmingly high rates, and their gender identities can be exploited for that purpose. Only I will ever love and accept you. Women can and do abuse men as well. Abusers can also exploit the chronically ill or disabled and those struggling financially, and it can exploit systemic racism both to hurt their partners and to prevent them from leaving. With a topic as sensitive as this, I wanted to stick to what I know. However, please understand abuse can happen to anyone, by anyone, and it is never deserved. You can find more resources in the menu now that you completed the game. Again, thank you for playing. Aww. Kara.
I was gonna say, I did see, like, the end. I didn't really know what happened, but I remember when Anna finished, she got the safe end as well. Like, I have no idea what decisions... Obviously, we made the same ones.
She made, right.
Or similar ones. But Kara said that not many people make it to the safe end.
Really?
Their first time around playing.
Wow. So, okay, so we should be proud then. We did.
I'm really, like, I'm glad that I thought more like you. Because, not to say that either of us are perfect people in the way that we deal with our emotions and relationships. And every relationship can be different. But in this circumstance, I think thinking a little more like you, for me, you know, helped. Because I tend to be the one that doesn't like to communicate my feelings as much, and I think that's important. Or I tend to be a little less confrontational, and I think being confrontational and making sure to believe yourself and believe that what you are feeling is real is extremely important.
Yeah.
And it's something I've been struggling with, and something that I'm glad that I had you to kind of, like, at playing through this, I had you to kind of, like, because you're really good at that.
I mean, I do my best, certainly. There is hard choices in there, though. Like, I definitely felt torn for some of them. But I'm glad that we got to see Alsie end up in a good place, because I want that for her.
I know.
And I want that for anyone who's going through that sort of thing. So.
And like I said, like, having your friends is, like, super important, because that's something I went through. And I don't know if you had, I know we've talked about it a little bit, but I don't know exactly what you relied on when you went through your breakup.
Yeah, I still had, like, you know, maintained my friendships throughout and stuff. I think I'd been putting less time into them just because, like, the relationship was my priority, but I hadn't by any stretch, like, dropped off with my communications with my friends or whatever. And I've also been, so I had, like, friends at college who I would still see and hang out with and stuff. And then after the breakup, I definitely leaned into that more because, you know, it was, like, a big drop off in, like, we hadn't been, like, formally living together because we were in dorms, but we'd been, like, kind of, like, basically informally living together in that, like, we would share the same bed and stuff, and, like, come back to the same place and all of that. So all of a sudden, like, it was just a lot more time on my own. It was, like, you know, being in an empty room every night and stuff. So I was really grateful that, I think this is, like, one of the most amazing things probably that, like, I can think of any friend ever doing for me. But I remember that the day that me and him broke up, he needed to move all his stuff out of my room. So, and I just, like, couldn't bear to be there for it. So I was like, I'm gonna go drive somewhere, and I'm gonna give you a couple hours so that when I come back, you can have everything out and stuff. And he was like, okay. So I went and I drove to a park, and I sat in the parking lot of the park in my car, and I was crying. And I was like, I just have to get this out of the way now, because the last thing I wanted was for anyone to, like, ask me about it or whatever and, like, open the wound. So I, like, went down the line texting each of our mutual friends individually and texting my friends from high school who I was still very close with, and was just like, hey, just so you know, we broke up. I'm not sure if I'm in a place right now where I'm that ready to talk about it, but I wanted to make sure you knew. And everyone was, like, really, really supportive and stuff. But one of them in particular, one of my closest friends from college, like, I was literally only gone for, like, 2 hours. And by the time I came back to my dorm room, outside of my door was a box that she had made, like, basically a feel better box. And it was full of, like, tissues and my favorite chocolate and, like, lotion that smelled like cherry blossoms and, like,
favorite
popcorn, because that's one of my favorite snacks, and just, like, all this different, very thoughtful stuff that she had somehow put together in, like, the span of a few hours to, like, try and cheer me up. And I was like cried all over again just because it was so sweet and I was so grateful for it.
That's so cute.
But yeah, like, friends are a lifesaver in situations like that. And I'm very glad that I hadn't, like, isolated from them more than I did during the relationship itself.
That's like completely the opposite of my experience, because, like, you know, I had found out, like, after the fact, after we broke up, I found out that he was, like, basically trying to cheat on me with one of my family friends, like, that I'm close to, my age, and I didn't know about it. And then I was like, what? And then I confronted him about it, and I was like, I'm done. I don't want to deal with this. But because I didn't have really anyone else to turn to, because that's who I put all of my emotional weight into. I mean, I had my 2 other close friends from high school, but I never really talked to them about anything emotional. That's more of
like lighthearted sort of friendship.
Yeah, something more akin to, like, I don't know who best to describe it with, but you know, where you're friends and you feel comfort in their presence, but you don't necessarily talk about deep things. You talk about stuff you enjoy, that you like, and sometimes it gets a little emotional, but generally it's kept a little more surface level. It doesn't get into the cutting things,
right?
The deep cutting things. And he when that happened, when I confronted him over it, he had an emotional breakdown, and then apparently tried to trigger warning here. He, at least from what I heard, and from what he told me, attempted suicide or something. And then his girlfriend at the time, who he had basically, like, he broke up with me to see.
Yeah. Oof.
He, I guess she brought him down from it, but, like, he was upset. Oh, I hurt you. I'm the worst. Blah, blah, blah. And, like, it made me be like, wait, I'm here. Like, I'm here. You know? And then it happened again. The night I was on, like, we were out of town for a fraternity thing. And that was a few years later, because this was 2010, and then the spring of 2014, and it was shortly after I was diagnosed with everything, and anxiety, depression, and it was, he did it again, and I was really I was really concerned, but I was glad to be in the presence of my fraternity sisters, because
Yeah.
They knew who he was, and they knew, and one of them knew more about the situation and stuff,
Right.
because I was able to talk to her a little bit more about it. And we're not always the closest kind of thing, but, like, the fact that we were able to actually emotionally connect, and I had someone there to support me while we were going through this dumb stuff that was happening. We were trying to drive home in, like, the middle of the night through a snowstorm, okay? And our...
Jeez, that's not ideal.
The
Yeah.
fraternity folks, one of the older gals that was in the fraternity, that was, like, one of the officers or whatever from the fraternity, she and her husband were driving our cars. Because they were more comfortable with snow weather, because that's where they were from.
Right.
And, I was dealing with this, like, sitting in the back seat, and I was like,
Yeah.
you know.
Lord.
And it was just difficult. But it was much easier to have my friends to bounce off of.
Someone who had some insight and could help ground you and stuff.
And I think that was kind of the message of the story here, where you can't... I don't know if it's Kara's intent, but I think it probably was, because the safe end is, like, the important one. It's, like, the good... it's the good end, quote unquote, for, like, a visual novel. I think it's important to have supportive, healthy relationships with your friends, so that you can have a support system.
Yeah, you're not all alone in bearing that, and just because I think it's so easy to get tunnel vision, or especially in a situation like this where there's emotional manipulation and abuse going on. If theirs is the only voice feeding into your mind and stuff, it gets really hard to separate that as not being the truth. So definitely, having outsider perspective just to kind of bring you back or help remind you, hey, you're not crazy. What you're feeling is real and valid, and everything, I think, is a huge help.
Because having the feeling like I was doing something wrong, or there was something wrong with me, is hard to deal with, because I didn't talk to my mom about it. I didn't talk to any friends about it. And, like, nobody really knew what was going on until, like, after the fact. And like, if I hadn't, like, gotten closer with Bestie and her husband, who was still her boyfriend or fiance at the time, but they got married that semester. But if it weren't for them, like, in developing a closer bond with them, as well as with a couple of my fraternity sisters, like, if it weren't for that, I think I would have still been chasing after something that was extremely toxic that I just couldn't shake and get out of. And it's not to say that he's a terrible person, I don't want to say that about people.
I mean, he doesn't sound great, but
also, like
I know it's not all black and white.
It's not all black and white. And there were definitely, like, things that I could have done better as well. But ultimately, like, having friends to bounce off of would have been the one thing that I could have done that would have made life a lot easier for me, at the very least, and be able to move on from something that was toxic for me and that wasn't working out for me. Because I don't know whether he intended to be that way, because I don't think necessarily that toxic people always know what they're doing when they're saying that kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah.
But in the context, it is. You know what I mean?
Of course.
And,
basically, this has been a PSA from Sprinkles and Manic. Nurture your friendships. Don't let your relationships take away from you nurturing your friendships. I think that's kind of our driving message here. And it's not going to solve everything, of course, but it'll help.
It definitely. And this goes for both, like, close friendships as well as relationships. Because I think the same thing can happen with friendships, too. Absolutely.
That's true. Friendships can be, toxic and horribly damaging.
And sometimes you just realize that you don't click with a friend as much. And it's okay to walk away.
Yeah.
When you're not getting that same emotional support as you used to from a friend, or you're not being emotionally supportive of your friend, and for whatever reason, it's okay to let friendships drift in and out as well. But having another person to go to, not to say that, oh, you should have someone that you can turn to just because, but like having multiple things there and having a system instead of just one person in place is absolutely helpful.
Right.
And it's something I did learn in my one depression class before COVID hit.
Before COVID interrupted, yeah.
Because true. I went to the class that was, they didn't start over. They just would let you in whatever week that they happened to be on once they had space in the class.
Right.
So I started on the last week. I started on the last session, and I was like, oh, so this is a summary of everything. And it was like they had you list out like who are people you can go to for support, and what do you need from them when you're having when you need to talk to them, kind of thing, and what can they do and what can you do and that kind of thing. And you had to list multiple people. It wasn't just one. So
nope. Yeah. Trying to safeguard you against that.
But yeah. The game, absolutely beautiful writing. I think it
was really well done.
It really hit hard for me. I'm like in tears, and I don't cry over media very much. I don't know about you, but I don't.
No, it was very well done. Tasteful, and I think it captured a lot of the nuance really well. And you could tell it definitely came from the heart.
And from personal experience, because I think the conversations were so realistic.
They felt very real, yeah. And the music was beautiful,
too. Oh my God, Rom, you did such a good job.
Added like a lot to the mood, to the just like how you experienced each scene and took it in and stuff. Absolutely, it was really well done.
Yeah.
Oh.
Absolutely. So
I guess
what we're saying is that you should play this game. You should also support indie developers. Go follow,
including Kara.
Go follow Cheratomo on Twitter. Follow her on Twitch. Follow her Stream Archive channel. We'll list those.
Do it. Yes, we'll definitely put those down in the description box.
And
if you want to check them out.
Go sub to Rom's music channel, as well as follow him on Twitter too. He is a wonderful musician, obviously did our music, but he's also done projects with a lot of other people, and obviously he can do the fun stuff and do, fun upbeat remixes, but he can also do really emotional stuff. I'm like, stop. I'm not a writer like Kara.
Alright, well, thank you guys so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed this, even though it's a little bit different from what we usually do. And
we'll see you next time.
We'll see you guys on the next one.
Bye-bye.
Bye.